Today is July 21st, 2019, and welcome to another Brooklyn Baritone podcast. How's everybody doing out there today? Today, I'm talking about if you have conviction. Do you have conviction? Do we have conviction? What exactly is conviction? Conviction usually is something that you would hear pertaining to the church or something like that, but it's a whole lot more to it than that. And that's just one of the things that we do need to go forward every day with proper purpose and focus. And that's what I talk about. That's all I talk about here. To find your proper purpose, be focused on things, to fine-tune things, to be well aware of everything around you, to be sympathetic and empathetic to everyone else around you, to help them grow, and for them to and for you to accept them to grow you, situations that you're in, to make the most of life. Not just the regular stuff that we all go through every day or complain about. It's a lot more than that. But to conviction, I'm going to start with the definition of conviction. Conviction, the act or process of finding a person guilty or a crime, especially in the court of law. That is a definition of conviction, but that's not the conviction I'm going for today. Here are the other two definitions I'm going to go over right now. The other one, a strong persuasion or belief, or the state of being convinced, which is in the word conviction, convince. Now, the strong persuasion or belief, that means you are compelled to do something, to think something. It means that is a seed has not only been planted, but it's also sprouted. It's germinating and all that stuff. It's growing. It's actually doing what it's supposed to do, whatever it is that whatever direction that you're going into. It means that you have a specific way that you want to move, the way you want to think. You're moving with purpose, basically, with undeniable purpose, basically. Conviction, I believe, is the combination of concentration and consistency. Enough of it. Anyways, that's basically conviction, where you're moving a certain ideal, certain way, certain path, doing certain things where people can not really deny or can't deny where you stand. Basically, like, people know if you move with conviction, everyone knows where you stand. They know what direction you're going. They know what moves you're going to make. Now, I do know that that's kind of frowned upon because, we got haters out there. We got people who are bad-minded. We got people out there who wish ill on you. So you have to be wise and be careful of who you make aware of your plans. Even though you have yourself established properly. And I'm always going to say, I'm never, ever going to deny that I believe in the Elohim, the creator of everything. Once you're in tune with him properly and you're moving a certain way in correspondence for what he has for you, for your plans, for your life, regardless of what happens, it's going to come in fruition. It's got to have that faith and that consistency. Part of that consistency is you got to have conviction in knowing yourself, knowing your environment, knowing what's around you, and knowing exactly where you stand. You have a foundation. You know exactly where you want to launch yourself, where you want to go. One of the bigger issues I see in the streets, driving in New York City, is that I always say many drivers lack conviction when they're driving. And the reason behind this is because so many people, they ride the line. Usually there are lanes, more than one lane. Even sometimes it's a two-way street, even a one-way street. But usually people are riding the lines where they're like, you can't tell, are they in this lane or in that lane? Like they're still trying to make up their mind. But at the same time, we kind of have to guess what's going on with them. And you can't really effectively drive confidently if you can see everybody else is not confident. They lack conviction. They're not concentrated in a certain way they want to go and not consistent on where they're staying right now. A lot of people also turn without indicators. I know New York is not the only state, and the United States of America is not the only place, but people lack conviction because they just pretty much have a mindset where they're just doing what they want to do, in a sense. Or even worse is like people would you would see, I would call vehicular language. Just like people have body language. As a seasoned driver, you have to look at these things. If you are a cognizant driver, you have to look out for these things. You see how someone's moving, how their car is moving. And then if you're close enough, you could see the person, where they're focused. Do they look like they're confused? They look like they're unsure. You have to look at these things. They lack conviction. I can't really make a decision to go forward properly until I know where you're going. I know you're staying in this lane and you're staying put. I know I can stay in this lane right here with no problem. If you swerving in front of me, swerving into me, or whatever the case, let me get to my destination with no incidents and negative incidents or accidents, please. If people can't figure out what you're going to do, it's hard for them to figure out how they have to move, or they have to make last minute adjustments, which throw people off. Now people say, the haters, whatever, the haters, they're going to be out there. Fine. Deal with them accordingly. But what about everyone else who's caught up by you lacking your direction, without you understanding where you need to go, how you need to get there, and do it in a proper, consistent, solid manner? You have coworkers that's going to depend on your conviction, knowing that you're good with something, but are you reliable? Are you always coming to work on time? Are you coming to work with a good attitude or anything? Or are you solid like, I am available to make whatever this organization needs me to happen, I'll make it happen. Or if you need me for help for anything, my expertise, my hand in anything, hey, you can give me a hand. People know there's a little bit of conviction there where, they know what they're talking about and they are available. They're usually available. So I know I have confidence in coming to them. Okay. Well, I did say earlier, concentration and consistency. I think I really meant confidence and consistency, even though concentration does apply to it. I really meant to say it was consistency and confidence. That's what I feel makes up conviction, where confidence means you're emboldened enough to go forward and do what you need to do. And this doesn't just go for people in the street, like I said, or doesn't just go for coworkers. About your family. They are your business and you are their business, most definitely. And they have to know that, they can depend on you. Be consistent. A lot of us struggle with consistency. There's people who are definitely consistent. They are rocks. And a lot of us, myself included, we could use a lot more consistency. But we know where we want to go. People do know where we want to go. We just have to stand fast and be totally convinced with ourselves, to convince ourselves, aka have conviction with what we want to do. And this goes with family, career. Should you want to shoot off and do other things career-wise, or if you want to do a hobby or you have other interests, you have conviction. You want to go fishing, you start to get equipment. You start to stake out places which are good for fishing. Then you start going forward and seeing, do I need any permits or licenses? So what are the seasons now in certain areas I could go? So now you're going forward now because, again, you have a conviction in your mind where you have confidence that you want to do this, you like to do this, probably pretty good at it or want to get better at it. And you are starting to be consistent whenever you can be, to get better at it, to get more enjoyment out of it, to get more fulfillment out of certain things as well. When I say people need to be confident about what you're dealing with, it's not about predictability. It's about stability and dependability. Just knowing that people can count on you of being there in whatever capacity that they feel they need you, or they know that you are there because you're learned in something that because you have a certain focus, or at least, they're confident at least coming to you for assistance. And it's a good thing to be able to be counted on, because you don't really want to be labeled as someone who is incompetent or someone who just, can't get it together, because, as far as your status is concerned, or as far as your reputation is concerned, that can affect it, and if you're, good enough, most people, they try their best, but that's usually good for people. Even if they see that you're trying, that's worth something, but it has to be worth something to you as well. You have to have that level of consistency, and you have to have that level of confidence too, to go forward in things, to do whatever it is that you need to do. One thing I had conviction with, where I was solid, where I had a position. It was very demanding in IT, and one of my superiors were actually the head, I guess would be the head supervisor there, wanted me to take on other duties, and I'm like, it's not gonna happen. I understand where they were coming from. I totally understood why and the purpose, and in any other circumstances, I would have done it because I was already swamped. There's a lot of IT work, information cybersecurity work I was doing, a lot of telecom work, a lot of administrative work. I was basically executive level in the trenches, basically. And the extra courses of action that they wanted me to take was for the inventory, to take over that, to be specifically, for all electronic devices. And it was a lot. I had a hand in it, but not to solely to be the one where all the onus is put on. And I said, listen, I'm trying to build something. I'm trying to keep up with all the requests and demands of my time. At the same time, I was building something. I was building a well-oiled machine to make sure that, everything was smooth, a proper process, full of accountability, quantifying all the actions, automating everything. I was about that life. And I said, listen, I can't take that on. Not now, unless I have more staff and more the resources what I'm trying to get at this moment. If we had that, that'd have been no problem. But because how I was, I had confidence with saying, no. Sometimes that's what it involves, having conviction with something, not going along with everything that everyone may ask of you. You have conviction to move a certain way. This is your standards. This is where I'm standing at. This is the direction I'm going. I can't afford to be deviated with something else, because now that's going to derail me. That's going to sabotage my efforts, past efforts and future efforts. And I couldn't. And, of course, the person was a bit livid and very, very persistent. But I'm like, nah, I can't. I can't in good faith, knowing exactly what's going to be required of me. And in the long run, what kind of expectations that will be on my section and anyone else that comes after me with that point. And so we weren't at that point. I was trying to get to that point so we can take on certain things to help the whole organization as a whole. I wasn't there. And that's where it's going to be at times. I'm using my own experience in the professional level of having a certain level of conviction. Some people would say that, being stubborn, if it's going to be like that, it's going to be like that. But if you will know what you can handle, and you have to have an idea of the bigger picture. Now, some people just be stubborn because they just want to be stubborn and find a justification. My thing was that I didn't want to put any more stress on myself or anyone else that was in my section at the time. I wasn't about that. I was trying to leave at least a legacy somewhat, to leave the place somewhat better in one way, shape, or form. If it's one area, then let it be one area, so someone else could come behind and not have that same struggle, but to understand why we have to move a certain way. And it's kind of about me being convicted to kind of shape the culture of that organization the best way that I knew how, in the best capacity, that I possibly can. So I couldn't change everything and everyone the way I wanted to. It's not going to be like that at all. But you can control you, and whatever you directly have control over, you can do that. And again, you have to have that consistency and the confidence to go forward to do it. You have to have that persuasion, all right? You have to have that strong persuasion or belief to know this is how it has to be. Not because I'm lazy or selfish or stubborn. No, I see a bigger picture. And you're going to have to see a bigger picture. You're going to have to be able to focus on things and know and project in the long run what you want to do. And that goes with anything that you need to do, even if it's getting up and you want to make your runs around town. You got to figure out where you want to go, what time these places open, what time they close. Do you have a vehicle? Do you take public transportation? Or are you going to take a cab or Uber it or whatever? What's the place that you need to stop off at first? Am I going to have bags with me? Maybe if I'm going to have bags, let me save the one that's going to have the most stuff for last. Let me go to this place first, knock it out, and run over here. And just plan it out. You have to have a plan as opposed to just getting up and just going out there and just making it happen. It can happen, of course. You could go out there and just do whatever and wing it. But why wing it? You could be wasting time, wasting gas, wasting resources, wasting money. You waste a day where, you figured oh man, I should have went here first. I spent so long over here. If I had known, I would have had 1, 2, 3, 4 things done already. And that's how I like to move every day. If I have multiple things to do, I like to at least combine as much as possible and move in the path of least resistance. In the long run, in the bigger picture, that's basically what, conviction is, being solid in where you want to go, how you want to move with everything. This is why you need to have conviction. Just as many people who know the book, the Creator doesn't want anyone who's lukewarm. You're either hot or you're cold. A lot of people want to stay in the middle because they don't want to step on toes, or they're just not sure of what they want to do. It's going to be like that. I'm not saying everyone's going to get up with an ironclad plan every single day what they're going to do. But you do need plans. You do need consistency. You do need confidence in moving forward with things. Because you're not going to have confidence in what you need to do, then you're going to be half-assed. You're going to half-step it. Or you're not going to put in as much energy. We could have a lot more accomplished. When you have conviction, people see it. People smell it. People feel it. They hear it in your words. If you type in something, people will actually see it and oh, this person's about that life. They see your product. They see what you're about. They know what you're about. They know where your standards are. They know your direction. You're going to be oozing whatever it is that you want to accomplish. You have conviction about it, and you're about that life. People will notice it. People will be drawn to you. You'll resonate with people. People will know where you stand. I don't curse. People know I don't play that mess. And some people, I'm not saying I don't curse. I'm just using that example because once in a while something slips out. I'm going to be honest. I look to not curse. I try to be cognizant. And you have to be cognizant too if you're around environments of people as well, or not allow your anger at that moment to get the best of you. Once in a while it slips out. But there's people who that don't curse around them because they're convicted to not have that kind of language or energy around them. Some people who people know I don't eat meat or dairy. I have conviction. I have standards. They know what direction I'm going. So many people are cognizant now, say if you were at a function at work, they'll be getting, the list of foods to get. Oh, that's right. Corey, you don't eat meat. Because they know I'm convicted. It's not like you say, I'm a vegan, but, I'm there chomping on the burger. Well, today I'll slip. No, they know from seeing you, oh, he doesn't eat. Monday, he's not eating meat or dairy. Tuesday, he's not eating meat or dairy. Wednesday, he's not eating meat or dairy. Thursday, Friday, January, February, March, 2016, 17, 18, 19. Not eating meat. You're consistent, confident to know this is what I want to do. See the benefits for it. And again, people will resonate with that and they will notice that. So you have to have conviction that builds your character, builds your reputation for stuff. because they know you're not wish-washy. You're not, flim-flamming and going back and forth. You're not lukewarm. This is why the Father says, I want you to be either hot or cold. So I know where you at. Well, I know where he knows where you're at. So you know where you're at. People know where you're at. You are a solid example of someone, and whatever it is you're convicted in, that people can't say, oh, he's wishy-washy or his word isn't worth anything. And that's another thing too. If your word is worth nothing, that's terrible, because our power that we have, this responsibility that we have to manifest things from our words. So much things our words control. It shapes, it creates things. You want your word to be bond. That's something we used to say back in the 80s. A word is bond. When I was younger, I thought it was word is born, but found out a little bit later in life, this word is bond. Didn't really know what it meant, but I understood the power behind it. You understand more so, your word is your bond. Whether you accept it or not, everything, the stars, the suns, the galaxies, the planets, the trees, us, were spoken into existence, and that power was passed on to us. So that power, we can create. We do create. But if your words fizzle because you have no conviction with anything, you're powerless. Your reputation is tarnished. It's terrible. It takes a long time to build that back up. You have conviction, though. I said I'm going to do a podcast every week. I may have flopped a couple weeks. A lot of other circumstances, but I got back on the horse, though. Couple weeks. I'm going to do it. I'm going to push out content. I'm going to make sure my content is quality. My content is quality. Don't swear. I'm not talking about any fad or any kind of popular thing or whatever, all that stuff. No, I'm looking to build people up. This is what I do. This is part of what I do. Vocal work is what I do. I have conviction and confidence and concentration and consistency to build myself up. Share that with you, but I have to put myself out there in order for me to build. And if I'm looking to help be a positive influence to anybody, I have to be strong enough for that. I have to have my solid foundation. I have to be consistent with that. My word needs to have value. When people say and do things or live a certain way, and then it's found out that they are the opposite, what happens? Call you a fraud, right? Reputation is down the drain. This is why when certain athletes get caught up in some trouble, it's because, hey, listen, we were banking on the wholesome conviction that you do what you do good, but you're doing it in a very good manner. And we want to have our product attached to that level of quality. When we realize your quality isn't that great, we got to draw that back. Sorry, Playboy, we taking that money back. We can't have anyone who's wishy-washy. You either hot or cold. If you hot, cool. We want to rock with you. If you cold, well, if you're dealing with someone on the cold side, you know where they stand. Hey, they're a great athlete, but they're a potty mouth, or they are into a whole lot of stuff that's very undesirable. So we know now we're not going to deal with them, because it's going to shoot ourselves in the foot later on based on their character. But we know how to move with you. Now, if you're lukewarm because you want to play it safe all the time, you're living life like a limp noodle, basically, or a piece of napkin in the breeze. This is not Bruce Lee. You got to move like water. This is not like a fight we're doing. He still had conviction, though. He knew how to move with certain things in a fight and with certain circumstances, but you have to have conviction to know what you want to do. So there's times you may have to move like water, but because you have an end goal in sight. You know where you want to go. You know where you stand. So you're going to have to make proper decisions. Don't be wishy-washy. Be strong. Come on, stand up and, establish your foundations. Don't be scared of nobody. They breathe air like you and me, pump blood, who are bodies like you and me. You know, some people may have more clout, more money, better house, certain positions in life is cool, but whatever, when you come down to it, everyone's naked. Everyone's born naked with nothing, and they leave naked with nothing. No one here is from Asgard, you know. No one's here from the DC universe. No one here is from Krypton. Everyone's here on Earth. Born, live, and die. But you have to live. And you have to live with conviction. Be solid in everything that you want to do. And I guarantee you, everything else will follow through. Have conviction. Have conviction. And I have conviction that I've reached the end of this podcast. I think I've driven the point home plenty of times already. Just about under the half-hour mark. So I'm going to wrap it up. I want you guys to be blessed out there. I want you guys to stay strong. I want you guys to concentrate on yourselves. Build yourselves up one day at a time. You're not going to get everything that you want overnight. Have patience, but you have to have conviction. That's how things change. That's how cities are built. That's how bodybuilders get all swole. They have conviction. And then because they have conviction, you can see the end results. You know, you got to make sure it's for you, though. Make sure it's for you and make sure that you're in line with what the Father wants for you. Get in contact with Him, talk with Him, however you can. If you need to go to church, open up a book, pray, or to study for yourself. Don't go by what everybody else says. Study for yourself so you can find out more how to fine-tune things for yourself. Because everything everyone talks about leadership with and emotional intelligence and all that stuff, all that's already ingrained in us. So we just have to connect with our source. And our source is our identity. We have an identity. That means we could go forward and not take up the identity that anyone and everyone else in this world gives us. We who know who we are have conviction. Take care, everyone. I love you. Talk to you next week.